Good evening. I'm Enari Dark Lord and welcome to Churikua. I suppose you want to know the stories of this castle and how it has not collapsed since then. I remember seeing how it was built when I was young. The construction was left in the hands of a samurai of Nobunaga Oda named Katsutoyo Shibata. Unfortunately, he died and the castle was left in the hands of Aoyama clan, who took charge of finishing the construction. Time passed, but the foundations continued to cause problems, and the people in charge were constantly being called to repair it. However, after consulting with priests, Lord Oda summoned the entire village, as it was of utmost importance to find a volunteer, otherwise a victim would be sought. You may be wondering what they meant by this. It turns out that they gave us just a couple of days for a volunteer to come forward as a sacrifice for the hitobashira, the human pillar that could be sacrificed through a ritual so that its spirit would give the castle enough strength to remain standing and undamaged. An elderly woman whose son worked as a servant on Mr. Oda's estates had trained on his own, but never managed to become a samurai. His mother, Oshizu, was very humble, so that she could barely afford medical care, which led her to lose one of her eyes and become blind without even complaining, accepting her fate with a smile. She spoke to one of Mr. Oda's trusted men and requested an audience with him, in which she volunteered for the hitobashira in exchange for her son becoming a samurai under Mr. Oda's command. Once the pact was sealed, it was agreed that he would receive training after the hitobashira, and once the pact was sealed, it was agreed that he would receive training after the hitobashira, and once the main tower was built, he would become a samurai. This is how it was done, and a few days after it was completed, the foundations stopped shaking. The castle was firm and imposing, and it even gained fame, after which it began to be called Gasungajo, Castle of Mist, and Henajo, Strange Castle. The days passed, and as I learned, Oshizu's son was sent to serve in other territories of the daimyo. Some said that his talent as a samurai was little or non-existent due to the demands of the job, while others said that they simply decided to turn a blind eye and give him a higher position as a servant than as a samurai, or that they simply decided to ignore his pact, or that they simply decided to ignore the pact and not carrying it out. In one way or another, only the gods and those involved know the truth. When spring arrived and they saw that the castle was not suffering any setbacks, they continued to trust each other. However, what a surprise they had when in spring the moat began to flood, something that had never happened before. Despite the repairs and the attention of those in charge of this task, there was no apparent explanation or solution to this. In fact, there was a rumor among a few that you could hear someone crying or moaning inside if you listened very carefully, which led us to believe that it was poor Oshizu angry and suffering for having broken the pact. Year after year, despite showing no other signs of damage, the castle remained the same, with the moat flooded. Some even said that the samurai and some of the castle servants fervently believed that it was oshizu, sad and angry, who flooded the moat with her tears, fearing that she would become an onorio and seek revenge beyond flooding the moat with her tears. It was built a small monument in her honor and with a poem written that says, "The rain that falls when the sweet harvesting season arrives is the rain that recalls the tears of sadness of poor oshizu." After this happened, it is said that the moat continued flooding, but less frequently. To this day, the castle still stands, as expected. However, when you approach Oshizu's monument, especially during the rainy season, you can feel her sadness and hear her laments in the moat when it floods.